It's exciting. This is the first chance we get to have an opening day, so to kind of take that in and enjoy it. There's a lot of firsts for some of our guys, and then tomorrow we'll get to the next day and start grinding. But I think we're excited. Good to see Julio make his first opening day start. Guys are excited to get going.
For those guys who are on their first opening day roster, one of them being James Outman, who's starting in center field, is there any advice you'd like to give to him or even any of the other guys?
No, I think with certain players, less is more. And with James, I just feel that, just to kind of go out there, write his name in the lineup and let him go out there and play baseball is probably best. Obviously with Vargas, I think that, he's in a good spot, excited about today. There should be some nerves, which is to be expected. And obviously what we're going to get to is, Michael Grove, who now is on our roster because of, that little sort of side oblique-ish discomfort that Ryan had in his last start. And so I don't know what that means as far as the longer term, but right now we shut down for a few days and we'll kind of pick back up from there. But for Michael, it's a great opportunity. I'm excited for him.
When you hear the word kind of oblique, that's a pretty delicate thing for a pitcher. Like, how concerned are you that it's going to be a long-term thing?
I think when you hear oblique, it's more of what that says to us is to be extra careful so it doesn't linger. So I think that's kind of where we're at with that.
Did you guys know he was kind of dealing with that for a couple starts?
It started out in Chicago, and so at that point in time we were in Mesa, and so at that point in time we took him out of the game, and then went through his regular progressions. Had no discomfort or sensation, even warming up, and he felt it in that last inning, and so all we can sort of go on is symptoms and how the player's feeling. And so we didn't know, because if we had known going into that start, he would have made the start. But from all things that we gathered, he was ready to go.
Doc, there's been a lot of talk about this team being a little unstable going into the season as opposed to past seasons because of the turnover of personnel, how much money you shed. How do you feel about it? What's your reaction to people saying that?
Yeah, I mean, I think that there's certainly a lot of, expectations for other teams. I don't think it changes our internal focus and goal to be as good as we can, to win a lot of baseball games. I do think that some of the turnover that we've had, I think it's a good thing in the sense of giving other guys opportunities. I still like the dynamic of our ball club with the veterans and the younger ball players. We still got to kind of come together as a team, which I think all teams have that challenge, I think is a good word, given the WBC. We haven't played together a whole lot. But as far as the talent, I still like this club.
Dick, because of the WBC and because so many new faces in spring, did you accomplish what you wanted in spring and as we start a new season?
I think given the circumstances, we did. Obviously, the first part of spring training was losing Gavin, and that's something that still is very upsetting to a lot of us. But outside of that, given the circumstance, I think we did a fine job in getting guys prepared, getting them ramped up offensively, pitching-wise, and then also keeping them healthy. So I think those are kind of the box that every team wants to check.
Is there a vibe around you guys right now that it feels like you have something to prove, or just kind of being in a little different spot than you guys have been the last few years coming into the season?
I don't think that the vibe is different inside of our clubhouse. I think it's I think the time that I've been here, it's a very professional, and I say it's a very kind of even-keeled group, understanding, the responsibility of being a major league player. That hasn't changed. I think there's excitement with opening day, which is good, but kind of prognosticators outside of that, all that stuff, I don't think that's kind of affecting kind of the vibe in the clubhouse.
Dave, are you as curious as everyone else exactly what you have here? And does that add some intrigue maybe you haven't had in the last 4 or 5 years?
It does, it does. I think that the thing is, I think volatility is probably too strong of a word, but when you have more veteran ball players or proven players, I think that you can sort of bet on the baseball card when there's more unknowns as far as service time. I think it adds to that sort of volatility, but with that comes a lot of excitement. And I think that for all of us, we're going to embrace that. It's not going to be linear. There's going to be some growing pains with some guys, but I think that this is a good runway for, you know, close to a handful of young ball players for us.
Dave, when you talk about this a lot, the clubhouse rather, and you have a veteran presence like Jason Heyward, what are some of the intangibles that you feel like you can bring inside that clubhouse, on and off the field?
Well, on the field, I think that he's gotten a lot better with his mechanics, and he's got a great rapport with the hitting guys, which is fantastic. There's a trust there. I trust him anywhere in the outfield. I trust that he'll be ready when called upon, understanding his role in the ball club, which is very valuable. Off the field, in the clubhouse, he ended up buying coaches, all the coaches and players, a bottle of wine each. There was a bottle of wine in everyone's locker to start the season. That's just kind of a microcosm of what Jason does. He's a team-first guy, and those things of kind of how to carry yourself as a veteran, as a teammate, are going to go a long way. And so we've been fortunate in my tenure to have a lot of great veteran ball players, and Jason is right up there at the top. So I'm going to be counting on him a lot. I am.
How do you do with this wine selection?
It was good. It was good. Suffice to say that I got a different bottle than the other group, which I can appreciate his feel for my palate, which is good. But for that in bulk, very good choice.
Dave, you've seen in your time guys like Tony in San Diego or Barry Bonds up in San Francisco, where the city sort of has a tie to those guys. Do you see something like that developing with Julio here, or is that something you got to play out for the rest of your career?
There is. If you look at this fan base, gosh, you look at this fan base, and you look at how they support Julio, regardless of race. I certainly believe that with what Fernando did for baseball and the Dodgers, and how Julio has embraced his Mexican background, you know, it's always fun to root for people who look like you. And being in Los Angeles, it's fantastic. There's a lot of people that look a lot different than everyone, which is great about our city. But yeah, you mentioned Tony, who I had a chance to see Tony win in San Diego. You talked about Barry Bonds. And Julio, granted, he's a pitcher who plays once every 5 days. But if it wasn't for Julio, we would be having mariachi on Taco Tuesday nights at Dodger Stadium. So there's kind of a cult following with Julio, and yeah, I'm just lucky he's a Dodger.
And he's the free agent at the end of this year, right?
I've heard.
Yeah, so I mean, basically the pattern has been recently, you guys are not keeping your free agent.
Thanks for that, Bill.
Yeah,
you know what? I'm not going to go there. That's a long ways away from that. So,
but in the past, in the recent past, it's what's happened. You've gone from, you know, Seager to Trey Turner to the shortstop situation you're in today because you didn't retain your players.
Well, I think that Trey's in a different category than Julio, but Seager's fair. But this is, yeah, I'm sure we'll have plenty of time to discuss that going forward.
Is there a different buzz here on the 19th pitching from the crowd during the game?
Yeah, there is. There is. I think that each one of our starters has a different vibe, which is great. You know, when Clayton pitches, there's an anticipation. There's a little bit of on eggshells. There's an intensity. when Julio's pitching, there's kind of that extra ramp up of excitement, joy, fire. You know, when Dustin pitches, it's different. And then when Tony pitches, it's different. And so it's actually good to kind of feel from inside the clubhouse to when the pitcher takes the mound, kind of that vibe.
Was he under any particular restrictions in the 2 starts he made in the WBC?
Yeah, he was. I don't recall exactly what those 2 starts were. I think he was like,
I don't think he did the 65 the first time.
No, he was like 3 and 45 the first time, but I think he went up there for the
second
4th
time he
inning.
certainly didn't do the 80 either.
Yeah. So I think that it's going to be a little bit, you know, we're going to manage it tonight. So this is one of, you know, many starts. So we're going to be sort of mindful.
Dave, is it kind of a bummer that it's opening night instead of opening day at Dodger Stadium?
You know, I don't know. I think that, you know, given we just came from spring training, so I would argue that our players like to sleep in and get ready on some schedule. But yeah, I think the tradition of opening day and starting up and there's a baseball game at 1 o'clock, I think that's always nice. So I still think our guys are going to do a great job with it. It's still going to be fun.
Dave, I know you're not going in with a designated closer, but will you sort of know before each game, based on their lineup, opponents' lineup groupings, left, right, who's going to kind of pitch the 7th, 8th, 9th?
Yes, yeah. I think that, you know, this, in the beginning part of the season, it's going to be a little bit more tricky to manage because I'm going to be more mindful of the up-downs. For a reliever, the firemen in that kind of big spot. But it's going to be how it falls out. But yeah, there's going to be a few guys each night that I feel, given their usage, that'll finish the game down.
Since today, game 1 is the best guy available for that 3 because presumably everybody's resting the restrictions.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's sort of fair, but you know, the game could be in the balance in the 6th or 7th inning. So I just don't know how this game's going to play out.
Just to double check, Grove's going to start Monday?
Grove will start in Ryan's place, yeah.
Eventually, the outset, like just losing Gavin so early in camp, I mean, how important is it for you guys to have him just around everyone, even though he's probably not playing this year?
It's important. Certainly, you know, Daniel Hudson is different than Gavin Lux, is different from Walker Buehler. So for Gavin in particular, to be around the guys, to feel like he's a part of things, I think is important. I've reached out to him numerous times, and I'm sure his teammates have too. So I think that of all the guys, he'll probably be around the most as far as guys that are not available to play.
How do you size up the division? What do you think of the rest of the team?
I think they're really good. I mean, this team right here is young on the position player side, but very dynamic, very athletic. I think Zach Gallen's one of the better pitchers in baseball. You know, Bum is always going to be Bum, and Merrill Kelly pitched for Team USA. So we don't know a lot of their guys in the pen.
They're kind of in the same situation there. Without a clue, trying to figure it out.
I would say they're in the same situation we're in, but you know, I think San Diego's got a very good ball club. I think the Giants are going to be better than they were last year. And the Rockies, you know, Buddy is my mentor, and he's going to have those guys playing the best they could possibly play. So it's going to be fun. That's why you play.
Dave, what was the reaction when you told Outman that he's going to start with opening day?
I think he sort of straight-faced me on that one. I was in Anaheim and told him he was going to be starting opening day, and he kind of just gave me a nod while chewing his bubble gum, and that was it. So it was good. I like that. I didn't surprise him or buckle him, or there was no extra angst, so that was good.
Is he usually kind of that way?
He is. He's just very, he's very, does a good job of kind of, I guess, getting the emotions through that gum that he's always chewing. But he's always doing.
Do you feel like the Padres turned the table a little bit on you guys because of the playoffs? Because you dominated them for really years up until the playoffs.
I wouldn't say that. They beat us in a series, in a playoff series. Like I said, I like our ball club. Those guys can play, very talented. For 2023, I don't expect to play as well as we did against them in the regular season, and we'll see what happens in the postseason.